Good evening. Oya Abota. Today we're going to talk about a very exciting topic. A documentary is currently ongoing and it's currently making a lot of waves about UHE and ILE-IFE. A lot of questions were asked, so today I'm going to straighten those questions out. But before I do that, basically there are some issues that rised up quite some few hours ago on the Great Benin Descendant page as regards an argument where some persons said the Uzamans are Oba's chiefs or Ugiso's chiefs, and I of the opinion said that the Uzamans are not a Haimoba in the real sense. So I want to reiterate such statement. The most important thing is there's no sentiment about history. There's no sentiment about history. History is events that have happened or that occurred in the past. There is no sugarcoating it. You have to say it the way it is in the real sense, and that's what IMASUEN AMOWIE IZODUWA stands for explicitly. Without I don't care those whose hearts are God. We have to put our history in the true limelight. So I'm going to be reading from a book. It's the book that was dedicated to the Uzama chiefs. It's written by the ILE-IFE of Benin, the Uzama and the Benin monarchy. I think, can you see it? It's called, it's one of my collections of my work, Uzama and the Benin monarchy. It was published 2 years ago by Chief Samik Ben, the ILE-IFE of Benin. And before this work was completed, I was very privileged to have had a series of conversations with him. So he brought the prototype of the book out, and we interacted our minds, and we were able to come up. So we were discussing generally. It was through some of our conversations that it's one of the books that has enriched me in the past 2-3 years. In matter of fact, it's one of my favorite all-time Benin books because I saw myself being part of the creation stage of the book, and it was some of my inputs to Chief Samik Ben, the ILE-IFE of Benin, that eventually gave birth to this book, because Ejoan, he has a way of discussing some historical books, and I was like, Izodua, before I had believed that Chief Ezomo was not part of the John from the very beginning, but he had to give me succinct point. We argued and argued, and I had to see reasons why Epa was correct and why I was wrong, and why other historians before him probably had said that Ezomo was not part of the original 5 of them, that they were originally 4. So some of the issues cropped up today, and I want to put it very clearly. This is not about sentiment, about history. All right? What I can assure you, the Uzamans are not Oba of Benin's chief. In the first place, the reason is because it is very simple. The reason is because Obamami Agye, the Oba, did not make them chief in the first place. The first chieftaincy title recorded in Benin history was the ILE-IFE of Benin. It was the first chieftaincy title that was created by any Oba, and these Ejones had existed hundreds of years, even before. That was my argument. The Ejon had existed long even before the Ogisoship started. In my documentary, when I was interviewed by Nebo TV, I had explained all these things succinctly. These people has been right from the very beginning of our history. It is through them that one of them emerged, who now became Ogiso Igodo. It was his grandson Ogisoe that now created the councils of elders, in which he instituted these 5 of them into it, not as his chief, because in the first place he didn't create the title for them. They are instruments. They are becoming instruments of the entire stretch of our history. And we must get it very clear. This is not about sentiment. These are the same people that went through the ladder all through the reigns of all the Ogisos. They were there. They were the one who ensured that the present dynasty of the Oba of Benin continued. And we must give them that respect. All right? Today, these people might not really understand the power that they had in the eras, because I'm quite close to Chief Olia. I used to tell him that, what happened? You guys were so very powerful. If for the fact that the modern complexity of the kingdom no longer recognizes them as that very powerful, does not mean that history do not recognize them as that very powerful. They were very powerful, and they cannot be classified amongst the Oba's chiefs. Now, in the hierarchical order of when you have to give the breakdown of the Ehaimoba, all right, there are two classes of Ehaimoba: Egaiwonogbe, Egaiwonohe. Egaiwonogbe is headed by Onwangwe, while Egaiwonohe is headed by the Iyase. You don't see these elders classified under these two classes of Oba's chiefs, because they are not. They are not. Do you know what a chief is? That Egenobama. That is why they are the only people outside the Enige, because Eniges are dukes, that has palaces, that has quarters. There is Oba's palace, there is Oba market, there is Olia's palace, there is Olia's market. If Olia wasn't that powerful in the past, he wouldn't have been wielding that power. You can't see Yase's market or Yase's palace. Amen. Yeah, amen. Palace. But right now, I don't want us to dwell so much on this. I wanted to reiterate it. I want to read something very specific from this work so that people will understand that it is second one of our brother. I respect him so much, but when we tend to disagree on society matters, I try to let him know that there are no sentiments about history, not because you feel that this is how it should be. It isn't like that. History are potent. Now, I'd like to read an excerpt very quickly. Very quickly. All right. The law of primogenation. People should understand the law of primogenation. I'm going to read from this book. Ogiso Oriagba had just been enthroned as the 23rd Ogiso of Igodomigodo and would have been the last of the Ejonwe kings. He had seen the good and the bad aspects of the system as a member of the Royal Council Ogiso. He actually began this silent planning for a return to hereditary succession when he was still a member of the Royal Council. He ascended the throne of Ogiso, benefiting from the gerontocratic arrangement of the Royal Council, and was aware of the difficulties in the way of the required change. He was able with little effort to gain the cooperation of the Ejionisen. No one referred to them as chiefs or Ehaime, because at that time of history, there were no Ehaime. Alright? He was able with little effort to gain the cooperation of the Ejionisen and the Ugoron members of the Royal Council, and few of the principal members of the Royal Council who were eligible in future to become Ogiso in their turn. That means in the old of the days of Ogiso, there were three types of cabinet members. We have to start divulging history. There were three cabinets of the palace members. First, the Ejionisen. There were 5 of them. Secondly, all right, the Ugoron members. Obviously, this our group is called Ugoron. This is where Ugorons were history keepers. They were the wisest people in the entire Benin kingdom, or Igodomigodo land. They were the wisest. So they were the wisest people from Ishi's quarters that were assembled rather to be part of the cabinet members of the Ogiso's palace. All right. Now we have the Ejionisen, we have the Ugoron members, and the Royal of the Royal Council and few of the principal members of the Royal Council who were eligible. So that means the other aspects were those who will be eligible to become Ogiso in the future. These were the 3 cabinet members of the Ogiso's council. Alright, the Ejionisen, the Uwaron, and those who has the potential of becoming Ogisos in the future. These were the 3 categories of the cabinet members of the old. They were not chiefs. At the time of Ogisos, they were not chiefs. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and say, with the help of the Uwaron members, he was able to secure the help of powerful individuals in the kingdom and powerful priests like Ohenso and community leaders. Strongest of all, he was able to enlist the cooperation of the priests of Eimidu. When Ogiso Reagba eventually summoned all the necessary and qualified people into the Ogbaha Council, he called on all the powers of their ancestors and especially on Eimidu, the progenitor of the Ido people, to stand by him as he took the decision. He, as a reigning Ogiso, then went on to promulgate the law of primogeniture, and all members of the Royal Council, including the concerned family members, the priests and the Ejionise, who were themselves involved in carrying out the instructions, including the nobles, collectively sworn before the shrine of Eimidu as follows. Now, this is where I want to read from. Now, I made a mistake earlier that it was 5. 6 laws during the days of Ogiso Reagba was promulgated. 6. We must understand the 6. Alright? The 6 laws were promulgated. Law number 1. Upon the passing on of the king, his elder son would succeed him on the throne. Alright, just like the edicts of the Shekiri in 1979. So this is our own. This is the first promulgated law. There are 2. One that was promulgated during the time of Ogiso Reagba, and the second one was promulgated during the time of Oba Ewakbe. But this was the very first law that was promulgated that guided our succession, or the laws of primogeniture. Now, number 1, upon the passing on of the king, his elder son would succeed him on the throne. Number 2, if he did not have a son to succeed him, the next of kin in the family would succeed him. Number 3, in the placement of the son, or in the search for a next of kin for the placement, the Ejion would bear absolute responsibility. Now, during the time of the passing on of the Ogiso and the installation of the new Ogiso, the Ejion must be in charge of the kingdom. The Ejion, not Ehaime, not chiefs. Ejion, the others. We know that when you come of age, it becomes Ejion. But these Ejionisen had a specific rule. Alright? They had a specific role rather to play. Now, let me read law number 3. In the placement of the son, or in the search for a next of kin for the placement, the Ejion would bear absolute responsibility. Now, number 4. Upon the death also of any member of the Ejion, the reigning king would invite his elder son, the next of kin, as the case may be, for installation into the position of the deceased Ejion. So we should get it very clearly. The law that binds the throne of the Oba of Benin is also binding on the Ejionship of these elders. I don't know what you understand. So the concept of, well, our brother was saying that when an Olia dies, it is the Oba that makes Olia. There is already a provision that every elder son of Olia must be the next Olia or the next of kin. The law has already provided it. I think when the family members are present to who becomes the next of Olia, then the Oba or Baseyo. Likewise, it is still the same Ejion that has a right, that has the promulgated right of crowning who becomes the next Oba. The law provides it. Law number 5. Just as the Ejion would have the responsibility of maintaining the stability and continuity of kingship. Look, this is the most powerful. This law number 5. He said, just as the Ejion would have the responsibility of maintaining the stability and continuity of kingship, so would the king be expected and required to perform similar duties in respect of a departed Ejion member. It is this law number 5 is so powerful. Listen, just as the John would have the responsibility of maintaining the stability and continuity of kingship, all right, so would the king be expected and required to perform similar duties. So the duty that these elders perform in ensuring the continuity of the king line is the same duty that is mandated upon the king. It's the same duty that is mandated upon the king to ensure that there is a continuity of the idiom. Now, the last law. The succession of the idiom, as in the case of succession of the king, is the responsibility of the king. Look at the last point. He said the succession of the idiom, as in the case of the succession of the king. So the idiom role that they play to the king is the same role the king plays to the idiom. It's a 50-50. So that shows that these people, they are not ordinary chiefs and should not be denigrated to be classified as one. Yes. They are not seen as chiefs. Yes. They are not misrepresented as chiefs. Yes. They go to the palace, they have a function. These are all recent ideology. In real sense, these Ejon that eventually now called Uzamas, they will not go into the palace because they don't have a role to play in the palace other than they were going to the palace, not like they were not going, but on a specific role that they have to play for the kingdom. All right? They have to play for the kingdom. So let's not get all these things all twisted by using English to mix all these things up. Ejons are simply Ejons, and they are not classified as Oba's chiefs. The reason is very simple. They were not made, their title was never given to them by any king, whether Ogiso or by, look for any book whereby it was stated that Ogiso this created Olia as a title, or Ogiso that created Eo as a title, or Ogiso this created Edohen as a title, or Ogiso this created Ezomo as a title. What you will hear is that at one point in the eras of this Oba, Ero used to be number 3, but when something happened, the Oba now promoted Ezomo over Ero. But they were not, their titles were never created, never, by anybody. Were never created by anybody known to history. From the very beginning of our history. Which we should learn. These lines of nobles should be learned to be distinguished from the chiefs. They are not to be classified as chiefs because they are level high past chiefs. That's what I'm saying. They themselves doesn't know now. Yes, that's like a hand, like Testament, like they were there, they ensured. That is why it was practically impossible for a foreigner to have been a king of Benin. Practically impossible, because they had one law, they had one mandate: ensure the continuity of the kingship. That's the law they had. And that was why when there was a vacuum of kingship for 70 years, they had to ensure that they have to travel, they have to look for the blue blood. They have to ensure that only the blue blood sits on the throne. That was why it was impossible for Evian and Ogiamie to sit on the throne, because they ensured, they sworn an oath with their life that they must ensure only those, they ensure that only those who are of Oba, who are of the kingship line, can sit on the throne. It was a very simple assignment, and that is why they had to send a delegation. That is why the Olia himself had to lead. That's why Olia himself had to lead the other councils of elders to look for the rightful owner of the throne. I've said it, that while I so believe that there is no amount of guessing, it has nothing because of what I read. It is the experience I've had with understanding the complexity of our kingship convinced me beyond every reasonable doubt that Kaladera has to be Oduduwa. The reason is very simple. The reason is very simple. Because of these nobles, because of these Ejon, they had only one job: ensure that there is a continuity of the royal line. That is why when the Augiame were trying to wrangle their way to the throne, they did not allow that. Instead, they had to travel to as far back Ife to retrieve their son, to come back and be the Oba of Benin. All right, and be the Oba of Benin. And don't also forget, there were in 3 cases. I tell people that it wasn't technically possible for you to say that Oromiyan brought war to Benin, as described by the Yoruba liars, that Oromiyan brought war to Benin and they conquered Benin, blah 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 blah. If truly blue blood means royal blood, that's what blue blood means. It's a real blood, like royal blood, royalty. Now, it was impossible for why I believe that these stories were not true. If, for example, it was actually a foreigner that sits on that throne, let me tell you how Benin would have. Let me tell you how Benin would have terminated that lines if it was actually that the royal lines, the present royal lines, are Yoruba. Let me tell you how it was easy. Let me tell you. Now, look at the chronology. They said Oromiyan brought war, defeated the Benins, and installed the son, Eweka. Beautiful. Let's assume Eweka was there. You left a 1-year-old baby with foreigners, and the foreigners did not deem it fit to kill the 1-year-old baby so that they can put their own person there to continue the lines of their throne. Not assuming that Oromiyan still had a lot of relatives around, a lot of his army around to protect his 1-year-old or 2 years old or 3 years old son, who eventually became Eweka the first, assuming that was also correct. Assuming that is also correct, then thirdly, after Eweka had 2 sons. Eweka had 2 sons, Uwakwan and Ehemien. Right? This is the intricacies. Well, a lot of Benin people should take note. These are things you argue with. Uwakwan had no son. The first son of Oba Eweka, who became Oba Uwakwan, had no son. Instead, he had a daughter called Princess Imadeyo. Now, Princess Imadeyo gave birth to a son called Prince ILE-IFE. Now, get this history very clearly. If Oromiyan was actually a foreigner, this was the best time for the Benin to have replaced the royal lines of Oromiyan and completely shut it out without shooting gun. Without shooting gun. This is it. Oromiyan gave birth to a son, Eweka, in Benin. Eweka had 2 sons. The first son was Uwakwan, the second one was Ehemien. The first son of Eweka the first became the Oba. But when he became the Oba, he had no son of his own. But he had a daughter. Alright? He had a daughter. And that daughter was called Princess Imadeyo. That daughter had a son called Prince ILE-IFE. For some of us who are from Orion, we know the story. Prince ILE-IFE going to find the Ugu kingdom and all that. That's another talk for another day. Now, if truly Oromiyan was a foreigner, all the Benins would have done, this Ejon would have supported Prince ILE-IFE to be the next Oba, because Prince ILE-IFE would have only been maternally related to Oromiyan and paternally probably not related to Benin. That would have been a silent way of eliminating, but they said no. It is only those who share in the paternal lines of the Ogisos that must sit on that throne. Instead, they had to favor Prince Elegbe's grand uncle, which is his grandfather's younger brother, Prince Ehemien, to become the Oba of Benin. Common sense. Because they sworn before Emidu that they must protect the continuity of the kingship rightly. The major reason that we still have a kingdom today is because of this Ejion, and they should not be denigrated by giving them a chiefly rank. They are not chiefs. They are higher than chiefs. They are. This is not about let's speak the truth in the purest form. They are not chiefs. They are higher than chiefs. Okay, so it's about this is about what I wanted to talk about. The little thing I said I was going to talk about before we go to the topic of today. Now, I did a documentary. The documentary was poised. See, a lot of persons might not really appreciate some of the works that I've done for Edo land. They'll get to appreciate the works I've done for Edo land probably in the next 50 years, in the next 100 years. See, till date, most Benin historians, they know that UHE is different from ILE-IFE. But why they choose to classify UHE as ILE-IFE or to replace ILE-IFE as UHE is the Benin word for ILE-IFE, it's what I don't understand. It's a bit my imagination. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what they were thinking. UHE. It's not ILE-IFE. UHE. Egenede omenwana so. Ogi so you have omena aswin one here. Those who can sing song. Why those sing one man? Let me bring you people life. In one no. Ogi so you have. Ogi so you have. That was long before a Kaladera or Romeo Izoduwa story. Ogi so you have. Ogi ke kuhere. Omonosia yo wana do hinvi. That means when they used to go to UHE, they used to spend tens of years, they used to spend 10 years, they used to spend 5 years, they used to spend long time when they go on a pilgrimage to UHE. So suddenly, the Benin's changed UHE to ILE-IFE. Why? Let's speak the truth so that the truth will set us free. Let's speak the truth so that the truth will set us free. UHE is not ILE-IFE. If you make UHE ILE-IFE, you therefore not give the power to the Oni of Ife. And that's because the Benin's mistook, the modern Benin historian mistook UHE for ILE-IFE, and that's why European historians started classifying Oni as the Ogen and UHE. UHE is not in southwest, is not east of Benin, present area of Kogi State. UHE. Now Gisowa Yovegenede. Aoba Nikau, the earliest Oba. They all went there. The last Oba that went to UHE was Obaiwai the First. So we reptile ourselves by not telling ourselves the truth. The truth of the matter is that when you said Ife, is the same thing with UHE. That means you are giving another person's power to the Oni. Don't forget, it is on the record that the Obas of Benin were paying homages to the Ogen and UHE. That means we are saying that Oba Benin was paying homage to the Oni of Ife. That's what it means. That's the reality, because in truth, there was someone, a deity, a chief priest, or whatever. I will unveil the truth now, that the Obas of Benin pay tribute to until there is an authority from that place. No Oba was crowned. A lot of persons are not aware that the Obas of Benin used to derive power from someone. There was someone that was more powerful that the Obas of Benin used to pay homage to. That's what the documentary was trying to let us know. That first, it was not the king that the Oba of Benin was paying homage to. It was a chief priest. And that chief priest was called UHE. That chief priest was a chief priest that propitiated the shrine of Paidu. Now, understand this thing. A lot of persons, no, we are not born at UHE. The creation, the Benins were not born at UHE. We were created in our land, in Edo land. We were created in Edo land, but there was a great flooding that happened. Even the word, in the word Atlas, it was recorded at the post-Adamic cataclysm, the flooding that almost wiped the population of the world. The Benins were already around when that flooding happened. So Paidu led his people up north to a place now called UHE. It was in that place at UHE that Paidu, all right, became their first established ruler. And he created a shrine to worship God Almighty. God Almighty was called Ogene. Ogene is a pure Edo word. It was from the time of Obaisigi that Edo stopped using Ogene, that Osa, crypts, Osalobo and all that. The word Osa. I'm not saying that Osa wasn't existing. There was Osagbaye and all that. Now, that became more frequently used as replaced by Ogene. Alright? Now, the shrine that Paidu created, he became the first chief priest, a priestly king. Priestly king. Priestly king. A dual personality. It's a king, is the leader of the people, and also the proprietor of the shrine. It's called a priestly king. It became the first priestly king of Benin, of UHE. Mr. Fosa Esoge, if you have any issues about my history, you are not comfortable, you can either ask questions for clarifications, or you can ever go away from my platform. Otherwise, it's easy for me to block you. Alright? It's very easy for me to block you. So don't distract us. Allow us to talk history. Present day is belief. Alright? It is present day Kogi State. It's present day around the Kogi State. How do we know it's present day around Kogi State? It's because of the informations that the Europeans gave. That's why we are aware. They gave a very hello. So it's because of the information they gave. They said that, how did they put it? That the Oba of Benin paid an homage to the great potentate of the interior, all right, and that which to an ancient city that lies beneath the great waters. The great waters in Benin is called UHE. It's River Niger. Kogi is at the lower beds of River Niger. They gave the description of where that city, the ancient lost city called UHE, was. They gave a direction that it was northeast of Benin. Northeast could have been ILE-IFE. But they also said that the city was behind. It was a great potentate of the interior of a city behind the great waters. Owarotote, the base of the Great Water, and that's Kogi State. Around the area, we don't know which of the present area of Kogi State, but Pa Ido had a dual role. He was the chief priest of the shrine that he created for the UHE civilization. What I would have called UHE civilization, because it wasn't the only Edo people that was there. Even part of the Yorubas came there, the Igbos came there. So he was the first man. So he was a man who created a shrine to worship God Almighty, and that shrine was called Ogene Shrine. It was a shrine where they worship God, the provider. That's Ogene. That's what Ogene literally means in Edo. So, and eventually, he was the first chief priest of the UHE. He was the first chief priest of UHE. And he was also a king of the people. So he's called the priestly king of Ogene Shrine. He had a dual role, being the chief priest and being the king. Just like the present Oni of Ife, he also has a dual role. First he was a chief priest, and now he was upgraded to be a king. So that's what Pa Ido was. And now, subsequently, when the Edos eventually left, Pa Ido died in UHE. Pa Ido was not buried in Edo land, but he was born in Edo land. In the present day Godomigodo land, he was born here, but he died there, was never buried here. Now, understand this thing. Now, when they were living, when these three sons were living, accompanied with other his daughters and his grandchildren, one of the grandchildren is called Isan and all that. So I will talk about that some other time. So some of our troubling Isan brothers, so that I can be able to tell them that this is how our histories are connected. When he was coming back, he had a scepter bearer, the staff of authority. The major reason Udo could not defeat Edo in war is because of that staff of authority till date. The eldest son of Pa Ido actually died at Udo. Alright. It's the second son, which was Efa, the third son, which was Emehi. They died in Benin, Edo. The reason why the capital did not leave Edo to Udo is because of these secrets. The scepter bearer of Pa Ido was called Azamanuhe. The scepter bearer, he took the scepter of Pa Ido, the staff of authority, and took it down with Efa and Emi until he called it Ubini, the place of heavenly pageantry. That became the capital city. And that was why Udo could not defeat us, even if Udo was the eldest amongst the three sons of Pa Ido. So that is why the other two sons of Ido that survive is Efa and Emei, and every Edo son or daughter are either Aka's children, Efa's children, or Emei's children. The Urobo people are progenitor of Aka. They came from the Aka lines of the three sons of Ido. And that is why they refer to us to date as Aka, because that is a line of the sons they came from. Having said that, the scepter still exists till date, the staff of authority. Still exists to date. There are secrets. But you have to understand, Ubinin existed long before Godomigodo. I've explained that. You people have been following me for a while. You should know Ubinin has a statement. Don't forget all those lies that all those Yoruba are lying that Ubinin came from the statement ILE-IFE. Ubinin, the first name that we were called is Idu. Idu's land. After Idu's land, at one point in history, we were called Otefa, Otemei. In that documentary you read when I was reading from a book, Otefa, Otemei. After Otoridu, the next name this land was called was Otefa, Otemei. because these were the sons, the second and the third son of Paidu. And after that, this land was now called Ubini. It was after Ubini that the land eventually now was now called Igodomigodo. So it couldn't have been Ile-Binu. So anyway, iron sharpened iron. With time, we begin to get some of this history bit by bit. Ubini is older than the term Igodomigodo. Ate do Ubini ne ake ami Igodomigodo. Ake de gbedu a evusuna ya ate Ubini. Hope you guys have enjoyed today's class. It's amazing. Funny enough, Ubini, I've said it 1,000 times. Ubini means a place of heavenly pageantry. A place of heavenly. Sorry, calls are coming through. Ubini means a place of heavenly pageantry. Let me shock you people again. When the Kaladera left Benin, first of all, yes, he got to Waton. That's where Igarewa killed the whole story. No, it's Ubini, U-B-I-N-I, not U-B-E-N-I-N. It's U-B-I-N-I. Now, when the Kaladera left Benin, look at it. Now, last year I was working with a brother for we to produce a documentary of a Kaladera. Now, that documentary will cost between 5 to 10 million. Alright, Amami Vie do not zeyo to produce a masterpiece documentary that will change everything. Although I've not been able to raise our funds, but I will raise our funds in about a year or two. So I don't need to tell anybody again to bring the money for such magnificent program that will change the face of our history. I mean, one zeyo na, but my gas one zeyo. You understand? So, but let God continue to bless us so that we have resources for we to tell our story the way. Now, I am going to sponsor the project of a Kaladera, the documentary that the ancestors have been putting in my mind. Shoot it. Because there you will understand. Because then we are going to visit some secret places that a Kaladera visited that is still being preserved today, right to even the Kogi area. My cannot you with Kogi, but now you understand. But you must understand this thing basically. When the Kaladera left Benin, yes, he went to Owoton first. After Owoton, he got to Okada. There's a place he got to in Okada. A lot of persons are not aware. He got to Okada. He did a U-turn. And after Okada, he went to Iroa. After Iroa, he did not go to ILE-IFE. That's a lot of persons are not understanding. He did not go to ILE-IFE. He went to UHE in Kogi State. UHE. The Kaladera did not go to ILE-IFE direct. The Kaladera did not go to ILE-IFE direct. He went to UHE first. There is a chronology of the Igala people that they received the Kaladera. Well, I'm working with the professor. He chatted me up last year. Yeah, that was last year. When I told him I was doing a project, he said, yes. It is in our record as a Gala that the Kaladera first of all came. It was from here. It was from UHE that Kaladera went to ILE-IFE. That is where the beginning. That is where the beginning of the history of ILE-IFE started. Because the Kaladera went with the blessings of Ogun and UHE. And he was also a chief priest of Ogun and UHE shrine. So connotatively, he was also an Ogun and UHE because he was a chief priest of our Ogun and UHE. So when you say Oba Benin appellation is Ovie Ogun and UHE, you are referring to Ovie Paidu. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I wanted people to understand, because the first person to have had the courage of that title, Ogun and UHE, is Paidu. And every other person who became Paidu, who became the chief priest, also had that title of Ogun and UHE. Alright? So Kaladera at one point of his history was also Ogun and UHE before he eventually went to ILE-IFE. And he took all the traditions of both Benin and UHE to ILE-IFE. Now get this thing clear. All the travels, all the history of what Ikaladera brought to UHE is recorded in Ife history. And that history that is recorded is called the Ikedu tradition. The Ikedu tradition, ask any Ife person, why was Ikedu tradition, the original tradition of the Ife people, why was it not published in a book? One of the most brilliant professors of Yoruba extract is called Professor Akinjogmi. Professor Akinjogmi wrote so much about the Ikedu tradition of the Ife people. The Ikedu tradition of the Ife people is the first history, is the first tradition that was practiced by the Ife people until Oduduwa or Ikaladera brought his own tradition. Now, in that Ikedu tradition, they recorded some of the things that Oduduwa brought to Ife. Why was that work left unpublished? Why was that work? Why was that work left unpublished? It's a question that we should ask because it holds the truth. The fragment of that work is on the social media. Browse it. Sorry, it's on the internet. Ikedu, Ikedu, written by Professor Akinjogmi, unpublished. All right. In that work, that is when you will know that he had referred that the original title of the kings of Ife was called Ogene. It shouldn't shock some of us. Some of us are quite aware already because we already spoke about it. Now, in that Ikedu tradition, it was recorded that the original title of the kings of Ife was called Ogene. It's Ogene, Yoruba word. It's Ogene, Yoruba word. It is published explicitly on the Ikedu tradition that the original titles of the earliest kings of Ife was not on. On is a recent word. There was the Portuguese referred it as Ogane. The old Yoruba people mispronounced it as Ogone. I think they didn't pronounce it well. Instead of GHE, they wrote it as GHO. Alright, it is called the Ikedu tradition. It is the oldest, it is the original tradition of the Ife people. The tradition that the Ife people kept. The tradition that they were practicing before Oduduwa came. So Oduduwa came to subvert the original practice of the Ife people. But that tradition, the original tradition of the Ife people, is kept and it's called the Ikedu tradition. In that Ikedu tradition, it acknowledges that the original titles of the earliest kings of Ife were called Ogene. And Ogene is a pure Edo word. Except the Yoruba wants to upturn the whole secret. Yeah, we fear would. Anyway, having said that, I think that's about the clarity I wanted to make. I just wanted to clarify that because a lot of persons were beginning to ask, do you mean that Paidu died? Do you mean that Paidu was born? Do you mean that Paidu was born in UHE? No. Paidu wasn't born in UHE. In one of Edo, in one of Edo, Otogbe Otalaka. Ivani anabidu rame. Ivani anabidu. It's part of the legends of our history that Idu was born in Otogbe Otalaka. That's what people doesn't understand. Some of us who are not too acquainted with towns and villages, earliest towns and villages. One of the oldest towns in Benin City is Ogbe. And Ogbe is different from Alaka. They have boundary. There is Ogbe, there is Alaka. there are different quarters of Odo. In Opa, Ogbe, Alaka. Ehimi na ya bu Ogbe, na ya bu Ogbe. Oluga ne ehimi na ya bu Alaka. There is an interjunction. There is a meeting point between Ogbe and Alaka. If you remember Ukponi, Nole Ugbe for Oba Palace with the other side that is now heading towards the Oba market. There is a shrine there called Ogbe Nalaka. Ogbe Nalaka. Nalaka. Nalaka is different from, understand this, these are 4 terminologies. Ogbe, Alaka, Ogbe Laka, Ogbe Na Alaka. The meeting point between Ogbe and Laka is called Ogbe Na Laka. That question is lost to time. No one can tell who sailed Paidu, but definitely history only remembers those who took the bull by the horn. Okay, Ogbe Na Laka. Ogenosa. That is what that means, is that it's the same, it's co-joined. Ogenosa. Ogenosa. That is like the God Almighty. Alright? So I'll just sit back. If there are questions, let me take 2-3 questions and let me round up this segment. Tomorrow is on Monday. Work calls. Work calls. For some of you asking, how do you get the book? If you want to get the book, just let me know. I'll find a way of getting the book to you. Osama and the Benin Monarchy. Alright. James Moses, good evening. So if there are 1 or 2 questions, just ask them quickly. I like doing my segment very short. Sharp. I just hit and pa. Understand? I just hit and I just still move till next week Sunday. Sharp. There are no connections. There are no connections between Ifa and Efa. Efa is a person. Ifa is a divinity. I don't know. Maybe there might be connections. I don't. But to my knowledge, I don't think there are connections. Ifa is the divinity of the Yoruba. Iha is our own divinity. Alright? And it has been existing for a very long time. Because I've told you that this title, Oliha, Ole Iha, has been existing even before the Ogiso time. So Iha, the divinity, probably the oldest divinity of the Edo people, has been existing right from even the creation of the Edo people. So Iha is an equivalent to Ifa, but Efa is a person, one of the sons of Idu, Paidu. Yeah. I've forgotten her name. Queen. I've forgotten her name. The mother of Ikaladera, and that's the mother of Oduduwa. Ernest, history cannot remember who is the father of Idu or who fathered Idu, but what history can tell us is that Utogbo Talaka, Ewaniana Bidu. Fred Silva, I can't really tell how much is the book because I was given a free copy by Chief Samik by himself. I was given a free copy, so I think at that time it was 2,000, but I don't know, that was 2 years ago, so I don't know the amount for it now. You can't call now, but in short period of time I'll have an open line where people can call and ask questions, but for now no call yet. I'm still building my page, all right, so that people can come and learn history. except those who did remarkable things. Except those who did remarkable. No, we don't practice IFA. It's IHA. The equivalent. Yes. When you give her pray, he always mention, I think the Efa people greet Laidu because they are the direct descendants. You know, there was this argument when I was arguing with some unscrupulous Ogiamian people. I told them when I was arguing with some unscrupulous Ogiamian people, I said them that how can Ogiamian be claiming ownership of Edo land when the people really owns it? And we're not cannot claim Edo land. Egbabe Laiso or Lamogun or Lavieze or Laloke. The two families that can claim Edo land is Efa, that is Laidu, and Lamehi, Emehi. Because I'm not saying every Benin man. See, in other words, whether you're Lamogun, whether you are Laiwo, whether you are Lavieze, we all came, whether you are Lamogun, whether you are Laiso, we all came from Egbe Mehi, Egbe Efa. That's where we all came. And some also came from Akado. Yes, let's just say we came from the entire Benin population of 3 branches. The Aka family branch, the Efa family branch, and the Emehi family branch. All right, these are the 3 branches that every Edo so these are the 3 branches that every Edo man came from. That every Edo man came from. So if there are families that will come out that Mafio Ton Oba, Mafio Ton Ogiso, it will be Egbe Mehi, Egbe Efa, because they are our progenitor. They are our junior progenitor. Our senior progenitor is Ipaidu. Then we all came from these 2 persons or these 3 persons. No, I think these 2 persons. Was Akawa Amamwa. Okay, Aka had children, obviously. Aka had children. But Aka died in Esan land, present day Esan land or Edo North. But Aka did not get to Benin, present day in Edo South. He did not. Obviously, he died before. He died before the voyage. He died on their way to Benin. Aka was buried in either Esan land or Esako land. That present day Edo North or present day Edo Central. But certainly, he didn't die here. But he had children who eventually went to inhabit present day Udo. But the metropolitan city, the Benin city, was inhabited by Emei and Efa. So that is what I'm saying. Thank you having you, Mr. Chief Orobato. We have to put our history in the right light. Like I've said, take my words. If there is any family, take it clearly, that can claim the ownership of Edo land, it is the Lamehi and the Laidu. I like putting, it's not, I'm from Lamogun. No. Every other tribes came from other, every other Uhuya came from other Egbe Efa, Egbe Mehi, Agmoyakere. Agmoyakere. So either Emehi or Efa, even the Obas, the Ogisos. If each of us trace our generation to 100 generations of 500 generations ago, at the tail end we will either be Efa or Emehi. Understand? So that's basically, let's put our issue in the right perspective. So not all those family, our Ghanaian family that is about 1,000 years old is not claiming ownership of Edo land that ain't feel turn over families. There were families ni Boedo. What greeting are they greeting? Yeah, I will get me. Is it not Laire? I just proved to you that the only two families that can claim ownership of Edo land that in Boedo is Emehi, Lamehi, and Laidu Efa. They were brothers. Ogefa is a head. I heard there was a Mr. Ephraim or Roberto. I think maybe some of this day I have to feature you in this program because there are some part of history of your family that must be straightened out. I'm aware that the eldest sons of the Ogefa is the Ogefa Nozeben. Alright, Nozeben that chose Eben. Then the other younger one is Ogefa Nomwekbo. But however, history tends to remember Nomwekbo over Nozeben. But however, Nozeben is the Okaigbe, is the head. Ogefa Nozeben is the head of the Ogefa family. I think I'm correct. If I'm not correct, you can correct me there because I think I read that in a 9 workers work on the evolution of Benin chieftaincy title. Wherefore, no mwekbo, or we not guy, and no rekbo, or magia going or so. I don't know how you people used to do that, but I know they has a magical bag that nobody till date knows what is inside the bag. A boy, but though when I am, you can invite me no time, because that might unlock several other history of our land. But you know, ruwekbo ni no magia going. Okay, now, beautiful, my brother, humans of Edo land. So, you know, but I think I will have to invite you in one of the program if you have an extensive, because right now it's all about if we don't tell our story, then a lot of persons are start telling which there are no sentiment attached. When some of our brothers try to attach sentiment about history, that's why I brought the Uzama first. Let it straighten out. Uzamans are not Oba's chiefs. They were not Ogiso's chiefs. They certainly are not Oba's chiefs. They are Idion. They are higher than normal chiefs. First, it's a straightened history because Erioye, sentiment where Obama me agi. It's a simple thing. They are on their own. They are not a guy will know or a guy will know be. They are Uzama. It's even denigratory. I heard the President Ero does not want to be called Uzama. They are a Dion and they shouldn't be classified as a guy. You understand? But what I'm trying to tell, I want to Chief Olia that I'm supposed to. There's a way I will put myself in a way that you don't see me as chiefs. I'm not trying to be segregatively. I'm not trying to bring discrimination into the royal. The people shouldn't get me clearly, but I'm just saying that. I'm just saying it the way it is. They are young. They are elders. They have been there. You understand? So this is only as this is one of the only as so the history should be put right. That's my headache. That's my own. It doesn't deflate other people's authority and all that, but it should be put right. I mean, over Yawa time, because I heard there was a discrepancy because Nomwekbo is more recognized in the palace over Nozeben, but however Nozeben is the Okaigbe, is like they heard of it's the Okaigbe of the family. So let it be known if there's anything tangible that any of us has taken home. If there's anybody, like if the arguments are coming that do you feel turn over in the first place, it's a question. We have to be asking ourselves some very intellectual questions. In the first place, I just told you that Emaninya Otedo Efa and Emehi, and they still have families Laidu and Lamehi. So we should Where history man we salute. Yes, they are now royal lines, Lamogun and the ILE-IFE. These are the two royal lines amongst about the 54 families. But two families must always be recognized as a standard because they have been very dear. They are the beginning of every other families in Edo land, and that's Lamehi and Laidu. I stand to be corrected. Corrected. Okay. We give her no more. Oh, I'm coming. Let me. This brought a big dispute into the family. Okay. But there's a present who give her no more now. There's a present one. There's a present who give her no more. Understand? It's I always say him during the kwe. He's a very young, fair, fine boy or fine man. Very fair. There's one. You know, you understand? It's exciting. I hope if any of the FA families are here, please chat me up. I like to know more about that family. It's an exceptionally brilliant family. And I used to see the FIMA house somewhere. If you see the way they have kept their house, it's still very historical. I like to visit there and ask one or two questions something because these are the secrets that we must ask. ILE-IFE and ILE-IFE is different. ILE-IFE is the greeting of the Ogisos. That was instituted by Ogiso Erebo. This family greeting was instituted by Ogiso Erebo. But Ohunatwe was instituted. There were already families existing, but it was not differentiated by Ohunatwe. You understand? But ILE-IFE, Egbenogitwe ILE-IFE now, or Ifa family, yes, give her no more. But he's a very fair, fine boy. I used to say he commands a lot of respect too because of it is not about age. That's why I tell people it's not about age. If history has favored you, forget it. But you know, most of these people where I have issues about some of these ancient figures, they are supposed to be the one gingering us, you and I, that Obanya, you go and fight all of them. They are not gingering us. Instead, they are all very self-centered. That's where I'm having issues. Otherwise, if I had come from a family that commanded so much enigma of historical, that's why I like my friend Osaze Edigin. The whole Osaze Edigin used to carry the enigma of the Edigin family because of the role they also play in the history of our land. I'm always loving. If, for example, I'm from Ogefa, every 2 weeks. I'm also Toha. Do you know what it means to come from the lineage of these very great ancient figures? So I envy some of these persons who come from these lines of great ancient figures and they don't know. And we that are studying, get very angry to see that our people are not taking the history of their family very serious. Imagine if I'm from Efa, for example. I for don't write like 1,500 pages. I for don't write one encyclopedia of Efa. They put on that my do that my do Obanya do, but my boy do. You understand? So, and they are not giving credence to all those. Sorry, not all of them, Jam. Some of them are. Some of them are actually, their heads are correct. Giving credence to some useless Ogiamie to now start claiming ownership of the land when there was never any time in history where all these people. Egboge Nediama is not claiming ownership with Egboge Netege when I fa and MJ. Lagesan. The patriarch of the present lines of the Ezomons is from Esan. It was called a Henwa. I think I've talked about this. Beautiful. If you people have family meeting even in Europe, keep to it. You should not, what I'm against in that family meeting, you should not be discussing holy burial and marriage. That's what most of these family meetings discuss. Onona owe naming ceremony, owe we child dedication, owe we marriage, owe waya get coffee. These are the basic things they discuss in some of these family meetings. But what I'm expecting these families to be discussing is Efa played a remarkable role in the history of Benin. Gakwego kugbe na ya tohagima aga tohagima gwale a producer a director no gbe ma so yama. Okay, anybody have a historian of Iredo gatia gare 1 million no power no baby no kind Efa. These are the things that we cover, how to garner knowledge. And during your family meetings, you are supposed to be telling yourself the history of the old of your family. Understand? I know. Anyway, what I was saying, I think we've exhaustively run through today. I'm quite very excited. I'm very happy that we're having times like this where we can interact with ourselves, where we can tell ourselves the lining igun. I think line is igun. Okay, you can always get that now from their books. Almost every book used to carry Benin morning greetings. Let me see what it's here. I can't find it. So just Richard, if you take this one to your next meeting, please. Wahandri correct be tameya we burial ceremony let Egbe be talking about how can they produce books to sustain the history so that a monarch Egbe in the next 100 years. Let me read this. What this brother has wrote. Okay, Ogefanomwekbo still have his daughters is still alive. The last born, which is my grandmother, younger sister. The eldest daughter never allowed any other member of the family member to visit. Navia Street off Mission Road. I think if we can have an arrangement with Ikbomosa and Mike or Tobo, please shout me up. Let's see if we can go and meet her if she's still alive to tell us a bit history. She should still have a little bit history of her family. Let's keep some family history of these people, please. You understand? Let's find a way of not just only reuniting and keeping the history of this family. It's for our own good. Otherwise, our children will wake up and not have anything to talk about. Because even the generations that are alive now, the generations that will be born in the next 100 years. Navi Street, yeah, Navi Street. So I haven't said that. Why I always say I think we'll be rounding up now. So I want to thank all of you who came online to join this program. For our programs are usually on Sundays, and it's usually interesting. We usually talk about different histories, and I'm sure that we learned something from this discussion and all the subsequent discussions. A whole lot of persons have really learned a lot using my platform, and I'm really grateful that we're using my platform as a platform for iron sharpening iron. Iron sharpening iron and all that. So I'm really grateful. I'm thankful to all of you. You guys are wonderful. Let's do both. Yeah. we no ma na ya 2 year domu agbon ya ye. So any like-minded persons who also want to get involved in all of these are all welcome. All right, are all welcome for us to sharpen ourselves to understand our history. It is lovable for us to have a platform like this, for us to talk about history and talk about it in the purest form. So I'm grateful to all of you. I'm grateful to God and our ancestors that has made it quite very possible for us to talk about history the way no, definitely. I've answered that. There's nothing like Oni before Oduduwa returned. When Oduduwa came to Ife, the first titles, the earliest kings, they only go edit time for books, can't they put for books. The earliest kings of Ife were known as Ogene. I've explained that. Alright. So I will see all of you next week Sunday by 7:30 p.m. Don't always forget, we are always here and to discuss history. Alright. So why I was all about talk about this.